This is the Desert Bears podcast. I'm the host, Davy.
Davy.
To my other hosts, Mark and Garit.
What's up?
Hey.
I'm growing a beard.
This is the last episode of the night. We record episodes in succession, and I'm glad I'm going last because I did a lot of work into this, and hopefully this doesn't take too long. But tonight we've got some awesome things to talk about. I'm going to talk about electronic music. I am a musician of sorts. I was at one time.
I would say you definitely are a musician.
Yeah, and I would like to make more music. Hopefully in February I can participate in the RPM challenge and finish an album finally.
What does the RPM
Unrelated.
stand for?
Al Dean's new CD is fresh off of Pro Tools 9, and
Is
it's
he
amazing.
Is he still Quasi Stellar Radio?
Yeah. This is kind of he calls it acoustic.
Okay.
But you know.
We know Al.
Yeah.
Yeah, his music's great. So this, and being a musician, having made music for the last 10 years or so on and off, I come out of retirement every now and then. I listen to a lot of music, and electronic music especially. Tonight we're going to talk about chiptunes, a small niche of the electronic music spectrum that has really gained a lot of ground in the past 10 years. I've been following it for a while, and
You introduced it to me, and I completely love it. But has Mark?
I was gonna say the same thing. You introduced it to me, Davey. So
okay.
it was brand new. Well, that's not true because it wasn't brand new.
it's not brand new.
It's retro, and that's what. But you definitely brought it to light for
Well,
me.
it is new and it's not new, and we'll talk about that, I guess. It's been exploding in the past 10 or so years, just from the late 90s, from the homebrew electronic scene, circuit bending, programming and stuff. People create awesome tools to make music with old Game Boys, Nintendos, Commodore 64s, Amigas, all sorts of stuff.
Who invented circuit bending? I want to say Trent Reznor because he's the first person I knew.
Who knows? In the late 80s and early 90s, everyone reawoke to awesome vintage electronic analog synthesizer sounds. Back then, it was fairly commonplace to get that stuff pretty cheap, but nowadays, with modern synthesis, all those old vintage synthesizers in high demand by artists because their sounds are amazing. The old Moog synthesizers and just sound great to this day. I have one. I managed to get a Roland SH09 off of my friend Adam.
Nice.
It's a nice old synth, and I still play it every now and then, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about chiptunes and how people hack game consoles and turn these old game consoles, NESs and Game Boys, into instruments capable of making sounds. And
When did you buy that first Game Boy? What is that thing called?
it's called Nano Loop.
Oh yeah.
What's this?
That was a long time ago.
Nano
back when we were
Loop.
roommates.
Yeah, people make these homebrew programs and burn them to flash, drives or whatever, so they can be played in these old consoles. I got this thing about 6 years ago, Nano Loop. It's by some guy in Germany, and you basically put it into your Game Boy, and it allows you to utilize the sound synthesis of the Game Boy.
Huh. So how do you get stuff onto it? Just through USB?
No, you program it yourself. It's all self-contained.
Oh, you program on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I mean, you can use that as a tool, if you're doing a live show and you're doing these cool loops.
It's a
through it and
self-contained synthesizer sequencer, so it's all there. I mean, you can do that. Other ones, there's another program similar to that for the Game Boy called Little Sound DJ, Little Sound Drummer. I think I'm murdering that name. Similar, it's kind of a tracker. It's a tracker program for the Game Boy. Uses the same thing. A lot of people use it. There's an artist called Pixel Hate who made software. There's a program for the NES. It's a cartridge you put in. It's called MIDI NES. Has MIDI capabilities, like a wire sticking out. You can control it with MIDI keyboards and synchronize that with all your gear and stuff. Awesome scene. People are making incredible music with chiptunes, and some notable sites for that. There's 8bitpeoples.com. They make, I would say it's one of the premier labels of chiptune.
Oh, yeah. Show me that
peoples.
website.
Yeah.
I've spent some time on that website.
They have music from pretty much everybody.
They've
Artists.
got a lot of free album downloads, don't
Yes,
they?
yes.
So is the genre called chiptunes?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. When you talk about electronic music, though, there are like 8,000 subgenres, and I would describe chiptunes as anything
8-bit.
8-bit, retro, 16-bit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people will hack anything and allow it to make awesome retro-styled electronic music. Other sites, there's the Pause record label, which is iimusic.net. There's the 8-Bit Collective, 8bc.org. That's where people like you and me can upload our chiptune music for everyone to vote and enjoy. And there's the Blip Festival that has been gaining popularity by the 8-Bit People's
Cool.
record label. I mean, they've gone worldwide. It's spread from New York City to Tokyo, and they've toured in the Eurozone too. So it's getting big. It's getting awesome. People like it. I mean, how many of us played Nintendo when we were little? All of us. We all have that same common thing, whether we liked it or not.
I
don't
can
know.
easily recall the Metroid sound,
Metroid. Just the boops, beep, bloop, bloop. And that, a lot of things that make it interesting were the limitations of these devices at the time. These classic Famicom NES games. I believe there's a difference between classic chiptunes that you hear on the games, and we'll go into that tonight, than the modern scene that's happening right now. These old chiptune composers were often classically trained, serious music people.
Yeah.
Nintendo hired them left and right back in the early 80s to just make some music.
I wonder how the artists felt about that, like having this wide range of sound and emotion and depth to music, and then
it's like
limited by these
5
few
channels.
notes.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
I think that was a challenge, and we're gonna listen to some chiptunes tonight, and
Yeah, this is gonna be cool.
it'll be cool. So I've got some notes here. So many early composers of chiptune music for the Famicom Disk System, the NES, were classically trained. Some weren't as much. Like I'm gonna murder this name, Koji Kondo, who wrote the theme to Super Mario Brothers.
Oh
Really?
yeah.
He really didn't have a whole lot. He had some jazz background, which is evident in some of in most of his Super Mario soundtracks. But he was hired by Nintendo out of college.
That's awesome.
They put he didn't even have to submit a demo tape. He was just interested in making computer music, and he made the most popular theme song ever made.
It's
Yeah,
been
still today.
covered on YouTube 1 billion times.
Yeah, I know. Some fat kid with a ukulele playing Super Mario Brothers. So NES chiptune music, game music in general is different. It's a different experience. Each I would say, and I argue here, each game developer like Konami, Capcom, Sunsoft, Nintendo, they each kind of had their own style, and they each have their own sound
Flavor.
Flavor, yeah, exactly. They all had distinct sounds. So we're gonna listen to some stuff here, if this will cooperate. First on my list here is the opening theme to Metroid.
Oh, it's probably my favorite.
Yes.
I never played Metroid.
Let me try and get this going here.
Yeah, this is like ingrained into my mind.
Now, when I listen to this, there's a different version we'll listen to in a second. This is the NES version. It's a little different than the Famicom Disk version.
Yeah, I think.
And the differences are subtle, almost like one version was like they fixed things when they ported them over to the United States. In Japan, I'll explain to our audience listening out there who are confused. The Famicom was Japan's Nintendo. They came out with a peripheral device called the Famicom Disk System. It was a floppy disk drive that hooked to your Famicom computer. It accepted 3-inch floppy disks like a computer, you know. And Nintendo made that as a means because of creating games, because cartridges were kind of expensive to produce, so they figured, oh, we can make these rewritable discs. It'll save us a ton of money. They did that for a while. A lot of games first came out on the Famicom disk system, like The Legend of Zelda, Castlevania, and Metroid, and others.
Now, did the game stay on the cartridge on the disc, or did you download them onto the?
You could go to a kiosk, a game store, and you put it into a machine, and it would write games onto. Yeah, an interesting concept. After a while, though, it became clear that these floppy disks weren't as reliable.
So it was like a red box?
Yeah, kind of like an early red box.
Interesting.
Yeah, kind of a really interesting concept. So they did that for a while. What was cool, though, is the Famicom disk system allowed the Nintendo composers to have 3 more channels of music, which didn't happen in the United States.
You say channels. What do you mean? Just like
channels, like another extra sine wave or bass, or an extra channel of sound.
Okay.
For sound effects. What
so like
have you.
3 notes going at a time?
More than that. I mean, let's listen here to the Famicom disk system version of Metroid. It's a little different.
Yeah, there's more to it.
And when I listened to it this morning, I was thinking, do I have the wrong one? Because it does sound a little different. You'll hear it when it starts to kick in here in a second. It's subtle.
To me, it sounds like there's a secondary, like, I mean, I'm not musically trained. I would call it like a secondary helper melody or something.
It's true. There's some. It feels more fuller. Here, I'll scoot along to. When you compare that to the first Metroid, it's different, obviously.
Yeah.
These subtle changes were made because when they ported games over to the United States, the NES only had 5 channels, so they had to make do, adjust soundtracks and sound effects.
Compressed music.
Yes. The limitation. See, I argue that limitations actually help foster creativity. Creating music on old equipment like Game Boys and Commodore 64s allows for awesome things. The Metroid was made by Hirokazu Tanaka, published by Nintendo in 1986. He wrote many themes for Nintendo, most of the launch titles actually, like Kid Icarus, Ice Climber, Balloon Fight, Dr. Mario.
Oh yeah.
Kind of a cool thing. There's a better version. It's a Duck Hunt too, I guess.
He did Duck Hunt?
He did Duck Hunt.
Oh yeah, we all know this.
It's so simple, but it's really awesome.
Not the same without the dog barking.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's on here. These are cool sound effects, but think of the work that went into all this.
Dude, how many times did I hear that?
I don't know. There's the dog. There's a duck.
Whack.
Anyway, awesome. Moving along in our list, we've got a lot to listen to. I'm thinking of awesome. A lot of these are not necessarily the best or whatever. Some of my favorite themes for the NES. This will probably be a longer episode.
Let's see, where are we?
15 minutes. Who cares? Mega Man 2. An awesome game. The first Mega Man didn't do so well, but the folks at Capcom worked in their spare time to make Mega Man 2.
Really?
They did. Mega Man 1 didn't sell enough, according to Wikipedia. Mega Man 1 didn't do well enough to warrant a sequel immediately. So the folks at the head suits at Capcom were like, well, we'll let you do it, but you have to do it on your own time.
Interesting.
So the crew from Capcom made Mega Man 2. It was an immediate sensation. I had it growing up. An incredible game. It has some great music. We're going to listen.
How many Mega Mans are there now? Like 10, right?
Yeah, when you think about it.
I'm going to guess like 15.
At least 15. I mean, it spans all consoles. You got Mega Man on NES, Game Boy, PlayStation.
iPhone even.
iPhone, yeah.
X2,
That's
X3.
interesting. It almost died
The
then.
Wii Virtual Console, yeah. I mean, they're even making newer ones. Exactly. It's one of the best franchises in video game history, and they had to make Mega Man 2 in their own time. So we're going to listen to the opening theme of Mega Man. Now, most Capcom games are kind of like this, kind of upbeat, kind of crazy.
Dude, I love
Now,
Mega Man.
were these produced in Japan or
Yes,
here?
yes.
Okay.
This was done by Takashi Tateishi, Manamini Matsumae, and Yoshihiro Sakaguchi. I murdered those names, and they often used pseudonyms in the credits, nicknames to what they did.
Like
Here's
Johnny
Save on
Five.
memory space. For their
Yeah,
names.
I guess. Here's another track that's one of my favorites.
We only have so many bits for your name, buddy.
This one's a good one. People consider this one of the best NES soundtracks ever made.
Sorry, what was this again?
This is Mega Man 2. I think this is the Flashman theme. Don't quote me on that. Comes in there. Amazing.
Super good.
It's a good song. Some people think it might be kind of weird listening to music like this, but I think it's really good. The sheer skill required to program complex arpeggios and bass lines all at the same time on 5 channels of stuff, it's hard to do. Next up.
Well, no, it's interesting. You mentioned earlier how like the limitations spawn creativity, and I completely agree with that because I don't know. It just seems like that's not always true because we have incredible concerts and stuff. But like there's so many TV shows or anything really, any business that like if it has the emotion, if it wants to, like Mega Man 2, they had their limitations. They had to do it on their own time, but it was something that they wanted to do.
There was passion in there.
Yeah, there's passion to it. So I think it doesn't matter how many resources you have. If you have passion, you can make it good.
Exactly.
That's why this podcast rules.
I'll share a few more with you. This is a theme song. Dan, our friend Dan, showed me. It has some obvious.
This was my Solstice.
This is Solstice. One of the themes from Solstice, and
I love
see if
this
I
one.
can.
I think this one is my favorite too.
See if I can pull this up here. One sec.
Oh yeah.
You'll hear.
This is that magic.
You'll
like,
hear
witch.
something awesome in a second. Wait for it.
I could listen to this like all the time.
What inspired Tim Follin? 70s progressive rock. You want to hear that again? Here we go. It honestly sounds like Rush or Yes.
That is pretty cool.
Or
That is pretty
Styx.
cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, kind of a sleeper hit. I don't know anybody who really played Solstice, but
Now, I think you mentioned earlier that like people travel, like they tour just like a regular band. Now, I can't I don't know if I could sit through a whole concert of this. Do you think you could?
I think I could. Yeah, I mean,
if you go online, the Two Player Productions has created an incredible DVD, and it's on the web. It's called Reformat the Planet. They follow these chiptunes artists around, and they focus on the Blip Festival that I mentioned earlier, and it's kind of a cool scene. It's a mix of visual Nintendo glitch stuff. It's a mix of music stuff. There's something for everyone, and it's not just like techno-based game music, hard-pounding techno-based game music. There's a lot of like jazz influence, a lot of other influences there.
Interesting.
To keep going real quick. Here's another example of the differences between the Famicom disc version and the NES version. We'll see in Castlevania here in this track, which is called Vampire Killer, which is found in most Castlevania games. Let me see if I can get it. Now, I like this version as it is. It's an awesome song. I've heard different metal bands cover this, and it's a memorable Castlevania track. But there's a better version. Let's see if I can.
And this is the
NES version. Now this is the Famicom disc version, and you'll hear a difference.
There's a nice bass to it.
It does.
that's hardcore.
It's incredibly evident.
Man, screw the 5-channel.
And this is like 8 channels.
Yeah.
It just gives it more depth, more everything. This is one of my favorite chiptune songs. Let me see if there's another one here. This one's pretty cool. Those extra channels of music that allowed for just a bigger depth.
Did you get a new iPad case?
I did.
Side note.
It's okay. Dude, who knows?
Yeah, where's your sleeve?
That's another song, another game. This one's called this one is called Journey to Silius. It was made in 1990 by Sunsoft. It showcases the Sunsoft sound, I would say, made by Naoki Kodoka. He also made the music for Blaster Master, another heavily popular game. This is a game they developed when Sunsoft had the Terminator license, but they lost it. This soundtrack is noted for its sampled bass, and it's pretty clear from the start. Pretty cool. It's a sci-fi run and gun adventure with robots, and lasers.
Robots.
2 more, and then we'll end. I hope you enjoy this journey with me.
My son calls robots robots.
Robots?
Robots.
I call them robots.
Robots.
This is by Koji Kondo, the Legend of Zelda opening theme. Something that's been ingrained in my memory forever. Classic theme. Very, very famous. Very popular. Kind of gives it the epic flavor.
You know what's funny about this part right here? Let's turn it up. My son is a big Mario fan. We've played Mario his whole life. He's only 3, but he found on Netflix the old Mario TV show, that old horrible TV show.
Yeah, with like
TV show
with Lou Ferrigno. No, I'm thinking the other guy, the guy with the rubber bands.
You're not talking about the movie,
Captain.
No, it's the TV show. I don't know. Like, I've never seen these guys again, but it's this big live action, big fat Mario, and then like tall, skinny Luigi.
Yeah.
And then they voiced the animation.
That's right.
And my son loves it because it's Mario, and he's all about. His name is Merrill, and he renamed himself Mario. He says, "My name is Mario now," so he loves Mario.
Nice.
But at the end of every episode, they say, "Here's what's coming up next on Legend of Zelda," or whatever. There was a Zelda cartoon that was right after it.
Came on Tuesdays or something like that, once a week.
Yeah, and so they had that music, and so I hear that music. They're like the better, I don't want to say better version, but of that about every few hours.
It's a classic theme. Here's the Famicom disc version. Very different. The notes are kind of staccato, and it almost sounds slower.
Now, if the music had more depth, did the game visuals have any more with Famicom?
I know. This was due to Nintendo America licensing rules. I know they had to edit out any references of religious symbols. A few games like Bionic Commando and Golgo 13, they had to erase any mention of Nazi flags and nudity, or gore
nudity.
too, blood and gore. There are a few examples though. Bionic Commando and Golgo 13, top secret episode, where they did sneak in a few like things at the end of Bionic Commando. The resurrected or robot Hitler's face explodes, and they kept it. It's hilarious.
Awesome.
But other than that, yeah, the disc system, it didn't last too long because cartridges became cheap to produce again, and they eventually actually put Zelda on a cartridge after that in Japan for Famicom.
Well, it's interesting because it makes me think about, we talked a little bit about before about like where the movies are this way, and even gaming where it is today, how like we download, and I wonder, I'm trying to find the correlation between, you know, going to the store and downloading a game essentially into purchasing and owning a cartridge. And I don't know, interesting.
An interesting concept, the disc system. I'd like to get one, but
would it work here?
Yeah, it would work. I'd have to get a Famicom, and but finding discs with, you know, the problem with those floppy disks is like any one sector of it that, you know, has like a scratch or a dust on it, it just
could you buy a kiosk? Do you think you could be able to get a hold of one of those?
No, those are really rare, and even rarer. In Japan, they had these like 10 game systems. It was like Nintendo choose 10. They'd have them in hotels, and they had those in arcades actually here in the States, but you know, you could switch between games and things like that. It's just
have like Joust and stuff.
Really rare. Mostly early NES titles like Mario and like Donkey Kong and stuff like that.
Speaking of Donkey Kong, just the other day, a guy got the high score, like has the world record score on Donkey Kong.
They did.
Isn't that crazy? That game's, how old is that? Like 30 years old?
It is, and there's a record that stood forever, and they broke it recently, and they broke it again recently for a charity or something.
I don't know. Did you ever see that documentary about?
I didn't.
King of Kong. Oh, very good.
I heard
very
it was
good documentary.
I heard it was good. Moving along here. Moving along. I'm in charge.
You are now our prisoner.
My podcast was what, 10 minutes long?
I have hijacked the Desert Bears podcast, and this is a longer episode because it's awesome.
Do not adjust your set.
Your iPod. One of the most noted composers for video game music is Nobuo Uematsu, who had worked for Square.
He's very good.
He has composed all of the the music for Final Fantasy. He even did some other things like for Rad Racer and other Square titles. Speaking of Square, they found this week a lost Nintendo game made by Square. It's Aliens, the second Aliens movie. They found it. Somebody found it and put a video of it online. Somebody found the disc version of it.
Did it just not exist before?
It was lost, or it just never was produced.
Huh.
Square made it. I don't know if Nobuo Uematsu made the soundtrack for it, but
Wow, that's really cool.
he made this. The theme to Final Fantasy.
Dude, I love the visual on this app.
I know, it's a good app. It's
So good.
It's called Modizer. It plays anything. Final Fantasy, one of my favorite games of all time.
You know, I could never get into those.
RPGs.
I know, not at all. I'm like, sit down for 5 minutes, and then if it interests me, I'll play it for a few hours. But if I can't stop after, I don't know, just there's too much involved with those RPGs.
Yeah. Next up is a game I had, Strider by Capcom. Again, it is like most Capcom games in style. Nice use of the noise effects at the beginning.
You know, I remember playing old Sega games.
It gets weird. Yeah, that theme just got weird, and that's how a lot of Nintendo games are. It's cool, and then jazz. Here's another excerpt. This was kind of it's based on some Japanese cartoon comics, kind of a sci-fi. Anyway.
No, I remember playing an old Sega game where like Sega seemed to, they went a different direction with their audio. It just seemed like horrible compressed audio.
There is a definite difference between there's Sega chiptune music. It just seems like MIDI.
Yeah. It just seems distorted and unlistenable.
I'm not sure what sound chip they used to produce music, but definitely you can tell if it's a Sega.
Yeah.
Or if it's an emulated Sega. Ugh. Anyway. My last thing on here. Sorry this took so long. But on this magic carpet ride of ours.
No callbacks to that, please.
Continuity.
This is a game, Kirby's Adventure. Kirby's a character that found life on the Game Boy, the NES, and now in Super Smash Brothers.
Still alive and well.
Still alive and well.
There's a new Kirby game, actually.
Yeah, Kirby Yarn.
Yarn, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best games of 2010, apparently. I haven't played it.
I haven't played it.
Neither
But
have
it
I.
looks
Because it costs so much
awesome.
to buy.
I know. Anyway, another thing. Kirby's Adventure came out in 1993 on the NES, kind of in the twilight years of the NES while it was being eclipsed by the Super Nintendo. It pretty much utilized the programming prowess and skill of all the programmers and what they could like squeeze out of the NES, and they did a really good job on it, and it's probably one of my favorite cutesy game type.
Before you start,
games.
you said something that's interesting. It's fascinating the difference between, I'm just going to say, the first Mario and Mario 3, how much more detailed the graphics were in Mario 3, yet it was the same system. Was it just they knew what they were doing? They knew how to. What do you know what happened?
They
there?
could squeeze more life out of it. Let me see if I can pull up a different. I have a whole bunch of songs on here, like Super Mario 1. You got basic stuff. You've got the noise in the background doing the drums, a bass, and like your basic line and harmony. And they went from that to this is Mario Brothers 2, which was actually a Japanese game called Doki Doki Panic, which they relabeled and redid for the American audience.
Oh, man.
Is that why it's so different?
It is.
It's forever.
I probably played that one more than any of the others.
Really?
Yeah.
My favorite
played it like a few
example
times.
from Super Mario 2 is not that one. Not that one. This one.
The desert levels.
Listen, yes,
I
exactly.
just see dancing cactuses right now.
Listen to the sample, the congas or bongos. That's amazing to me.
That's true.
Again, done by Koji Kondo, who did all of the Marios. Here's another one.
When you get a star.
Yeah, but you hear the bongos in the background.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh wow! I've never noticed that.
Yeah, neither would I.
Amazing what they did. I don't know if, granted, they're probably terrible sounding samples, but you know, they've come from leaps and bounds. I don't really have any other better examples. I'll go back to my playlist here.
Yeah.
I'm invincible. Kirby's Adventure.
You call this cutesy. Oh yeah.
No, I have both Kirby 1 and 2 on Game Boy, and it's pretty much a direct port, I think, from the Game Boy. Game Boy has a slight different timbre than the NES, but they're pretty similar. I was just goofing around listening to this, and I found this track today.
How much memory do these take up now? These songs, tiny, right?
20K.
Wow. Amazing. I wonder how many hours of chiptune you could put on an iPod.
A
Want
lot.
Steve Jobs to say that. You
Yeah.
could listen to this many years worth of chiptunes.
I know.
Anyway, that's kind of my showcase of NES chiptunes in particular. I mean, we could spend another 3 or 4 episodes talking about SNES and the other consoles, but I believe personally that it was the NES Famicom generation that influenced a lot of the new chiptune, modern chiptune movement in electronic music. And while game music has a different purpose and design than modern chiptune electronic music, I still think
You should play a chiptune.
it's incredible.
Like, yeah, a modern one. Like,
To compare, I guess. I don't know if I have one. One sec.
and if I wanted to go and make chiptune now, like, what would I need to do?
That's a good question. Like, get a Game Boy. You can actually emulate all this stuff.
So you could
There are apps.
download stuff and just
Yeah.
kinda go to town on
Go to
it.
town. I would suggest VST Synths.
Oh yeah.
I would suggest, you know, just listen to what you like and see if you can copy it. That's the only way to do it.
You know, there's actually a chiptune song that I love. Did you ever listen to the Nerdist podcast by Chris Hardwick? He opens his podcast with this chiptune song that, like, every time I hear it, like, when I listened to podcasts a lot when I was typing at the post office, and every time I heard that opening, like, I just got up. I love that. Is one of my favorite chiptune songs. It's awesome.
It's amazing how this type of music can just get you. I mean,
It can pump you up.
yeah. Like, if I were a runner, I would definitely be listening to it.
Yeah, definitely. When I'm riding my bike, I like to listen to this stuff. To close, I'll close this with the theme to Megaman 3. Kind of a thoughtful song, I think. Thinking about Megaman and all his victories against Dr. Wily and his evil robots reflects on his life. This is the theme to Megaman 3.
Thank you for listening.
This was the Desert Bears Podcast.
Barf. Oh, damn it.
Best fate ever.